Welcome, everyone, to Stadium Journeys Obstructed Views, the show where a couple of guys in a couple of countries drink a couple of beers and discuss a stadium somewhere in the world and their experiences there. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
And we're excited to be here with you tonight. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the Stadium Journey YouTube channel, like this video, and feel free to leave a comment or two. And for all of our fantastic comment, check us out at www.stadiumjourney.com. So let's get rolling tonight. Dave, what are you drinking?
Well, with my latest sort of ventures into junior B, junior C hockey, and I'm hitting a lot more small towns. So there's one, I went and saw the Elmira Sugar Kings, and I saw that they had a beer. Like it seems like everybody does now, like they have the team beer or whatever.
Yeah.
Now I don't have the team beer, but I did decide to stop in at the brewery in Elmira. It's called Rural Roots Brewery. And I got myself today a Yes Honey cream ale. So it's pretty interesting, actually. So yeah, I mean, I know we've said how I'm not really an IPA guy. It's sort of thinking about, it's like approaching like, yeah, I'm an IPA, and then it hits the brakes and you don't get that super hoppy, bitter aftertaste that you get in an IPA. So I'm pleasantly surprised. I was like, the first sip, I was like, oh, wait for it. It's not there. Oh, so it's one of these ones that sort of grows on you the more sips you have, which is pretty good. What do you got?
That's always a good thing in a beer. You want it to be better than the more you have it, right? All right, so right along your lines of finding an out-of-the-way spot in a small town on a road trip, I visited Dartmouth College up in Hanover, New Hampshire a couple of months ago, and I've got a buddy, a high school buddy. We've known each other for, holy crap, 40 years now. But anyway, he lives in New Hampshire, and he has been to every brew pub in the state, and I'm not kidding. He's actually got pictures and stuff to prove it. They have a stamp program, like the passport, like we did a passport stamp. They have one for breweries in New Hampshire, and he's completed the circuit. But anyway, whenever I go anywhere in New Hampshire, I said, Ben, where should I go get a beer? And he told me this place. So I went there and got a beer. Then I decided to go somewhere else and have another beer. And I ended up at this little place. It's in Norwich, Vermont, right across the river from Hanover. This place is said to be the inspiration for the TV show Newhart, the one where he ran the inn up in Vermont.
Yep.
And you know what? They've got a room called the Newhart Room, and it looks like it steps right out of the TV show. But anyway, they have this little bar in the inn that has maybe 20 seats, little offshoot, and they brew their own beer there. So I'm like, oh, I have to grab one.
Score.
So I did. It's called Jesper Murdoch's Fuggle and Barleycorn, and I went with the small. No, this is not. They were calling it, the lady at the counter called these. This is our bomber, but they only sell it in this size. So I was like, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought
you said there's the small. I was like, what's the large? Is
the largest size keg?
I was going to say you get the oak, oak barrel, or
or what are those called? Growlers.
Yeah.
So yeah, she said, I said, all right, those are huge. I'll take two. And she went, two? I said, okay, four. But yeah, Fuggle and Barleycorn. I don't know exactly what style beer this is, but it's fantastic. So yeah, Jesper Murdoch's their own brand. And when I could have stayed in this little inn and this little bar all night, I texted my wife and said, I'm not coming home tonight. I'm staying up here in New Hampshire. So that's my beer. If we were visiting today's destination, we might be drinking a Big Trouble in Little Rhodey from Union Station Brewhouse in Providence, Rhode Island, because today we are talking about the Amica Mutual Pavilion, home of Providence College Friars basketball. Before we dive in, let's take a look at the Stadium Vitals. Okay, we're talking college basketball in New England. So not a whole lot of attention gets paid to the college basketball scene up here. You've got UConn, undoubtedly, one of the premier programs, not only in the area, but in the country. But then you're thinking about all the other teams in New England, who would be number two? And my argument to all you good listeners, is it's Providence College. And if you disagree, fight with me in the comments, okay? But you'll be wrong. So we're going to talk about their home, Amica Mutual Pavilion. And I apologize in advance because it's been called the Dunkin' Donut Center for the past 30 years or so. So that may slip out once or twice. And actually, in Providence, there are still people who just call it the Providence Civic Center. So,
wow.
Oh, here we go. Let's start right at the beginning. When they built the Providence Civic Center in 1972. Ironically enough, they built that because the PC basketball program had outgrown their on-campus home, Alumni Hall, which seats maybe 2,000 people. So they were successful. This was in the days of Dave Gavitt being the coach, Marvin Barnes, Ernie DiGregorio. They had some fantastic teams. They made a few Final Fours during that. I think they made 2 Final Fours during that time. Joey Hassett. They had some fantastic, Kevin Stakem. Had some fantastic players rotate through there in the 70s.
1 Final Four.
Only one?
In 1973. But they did make it again in 87.
Oh, yeah, when Pitino was coach. That one in 70 and what was it, 74?
3.
73? Yeah. I was too young to really know. The old timers still say that if Marvin Barnes didn't hurt his knee in that game, they would have won the title. But anyway. And if you ever need to see the best basketball pass ever created in the history of basketball, look up Ernie DiGregorio. He threw on a fast break, he threw a behind-the-back pass from half court to Marvin Barnes in stride for a dunk. It's incredible. And it is absolutely the best pass in the history of basketball. But anyway, I digress. They were playing in Alumni Hall on campus. Program got way too big for that. So they built this new arena downtown for them and the Providence Reds. Ironically, at the same time, they built a new arena on campus, Schneider Arena, and the hockey team moved back on campus at the same time. It was pretty funny. Yeah, but anyway, Providence to this day has horrendous traffic. And this arena is squarely right off the highway, right where 195 and 95 and Route 6 and Route 10 and 146 all come together. So it's in a horrible location. And they were afraid that events at this arena were just going to gridlock the city. So the city fathers at the time, because this is the 70s, there were no city mothers, let's be honest. I'm sorry. We've come a long way, I hope. They developed this whole color system where you had to hang this placard on your rearview mirror, and it only allowed you access to certain roads on certain days. It was pretty.
Oh man!
Yeah, it was scrapped pretty quickly, but that was the fear that it was just going to the formation of this arena that seated 15,000, 14,000 people was just going to gridlock the city. But anyway, there's been improvements made over time, and I still think it's a fantastic place. And I've been there maybe 700-800 times in my lifetime. I've actually played there, so I think I can speak pretty intimately about it. But Dave, let's get an outsider's opinion. What were your thoughts about the Amica Mutual Pavilion?
Well, when you said it that they're the second biggest team in New England, I was like, well, who would argue against that? It just seems so obvious to me. I think, right off the top, and being a bit of a historian, Providence is the origin. It's the beginning of the Big East Conference.
Yes. And
the Big East Conference at one point was the basketball conference. Your ACC people might make noise about the triangle. Kentucky's always going to say their thing, in Kansas or whatever. But as a whole conference.
Yeah, the super conferences began in Providence.
Yeah. And they took it to the next level. Like, they were doing things that were just not thought of anywhere else. Like, can you imagine Duke saying, okay, well, we've got to come off of campus. We got to leave Cameron Indoor Stadium and play somewhere bigger. We got to go to Greenville and play there, or in Charlotte or whatever, right? There's no way. But the
Right.
Big East did that. And
Think of the original Big East. You had, Providence is one of the smaller ones, but you had St. John's,
yep.
who went off campus to play at Madison Square Garden. You had Villanova in Philadelphia. You had Georgetown in Washington. So all the major cities along the East Coast were represented, and almost all of them, moved off campus into these giant basketball arenas. You had Syracuse, who played in the Carrier Dome, for crying
Yep.
out loud.
and the father of the Big East, the brainchild, was Dave Gavitt.
Absolutely.
Without Dave Gavitt, there is no Big East, and who knows what basketball looks like. And now, like the Final Four has gone even past that idea of the big venue to the super venue. I mean, are you going to see a national championship that's not played in a football stadium ever again?
Right.
I doubt it. So Providence moving to the Amica Mutual Pavilion.
Amica.
I mean, insurance company, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So that moving to the Providence Civic Center is like the precursor. It was like the first step. Now, the vibes I got from at that time, it was the Dunkin' Donuts Center. I was like, wow, this is almost like the Joe Louis Arena. It's that 70s sort of concrete block, not very much in the way of natural light. And it was obvious to me that they had built kind of the atrium on one corner or whatever. So what I would say as an outsider is like the main entrance clearly wasn't there originally.
It underwent you know what, you mentioned Joe Louis Arena. To me, it always reminded me of the Nassau Coliseum.
Okay.
Similar, one concourse.
Same
for the
era.
whole thing. Yeah. But you're right. In around 2008-ish, it underwent a massive reconstruction, and they ripped out the old entrances and put in the new concourses and connected it to the convention center next door and the Providence Place Mall a little farther down the road. And redesigned. They tried to widen in certain places, so you have food courts on either side now. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The when you first said it, reminded you of that. I was like, what? But what you're saying totally makes sense.
And Providence too. Most people probably don't think of this. I look at it. It's like the hub of legendary coaches. So you had Gavitt and Pitino, who both coached there. And then you had, as players, you had Lenny Wilkins, you had John Thompson, you had Billy Donovan. All went on to, various degrees of success. All won something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pitino, Wilkins, actually Pitino, Thompson, Donovan, they all won NCAA national championships. Lenny Wilkins, of course, won an NBA championship. I don't think Dave Gavitt won anything as a coach. Conference probably, but he didn't last too much longer there, right? Like after the Big East was created, then he moved on from Providence to be the commissioner of the Big East, which of course married itself to ESPN, this fledgling, all sports network, which had to start with an E because they weren't sure if it was gonna survive as just the sports part. So they start E for entertainment.
What's the E stand for? I don't know. It's entertainment.
But yeah, definitely a 70s era kind of building. I was really surprised, especially when I looked at the numbers. First of all, I was surprised at the size of Providence, like a population of about almost 1.3 million.
You must be talking the greater Providence area.
Could be. I looked it up today and I was like, wow. And then on the flip side, Providence College, under 5,000 students.
Teeny tiny school.
Yeah.
And I know that because I work for them. One of my many gigs is doing PA, and I haven't done basketball for the PA announcers at Providence College. Is the gold, the brass ring there, the precious, because we're all waiting for. It's funny, we refer to the table at Providence College basketball games as the old timers club. because they've all had those jobs for 40 years. And they're
Yeah.
all in their 70s and 80s. And we're just waiting for them to start retiring or start not, to not be able to do the games anymore so we can all slide in. But the competition amongst the PA announcers to jump into Frank Carpano's seat is intense. And we're all jockeying for position.
So I guess the building itself was pretty. It wasn't special.
Oh, before I
There
forget,
wasn't
Dave,
too
I
much
want to
about it.
jump in. I want to jump in real quick before I forget. You were talking about the Big East being formed at Providence College. If you go upstairs into the where the team offices for the Providence Bruins are, the desk where they signed the first Big East contract
Wow,
is there in the lobby, and it's got a little plaque on it that says this is where the Big East Conference was formed in 1979 or 1980, whenever it was. So
that's awesome.
if you're sneaky, you can get up there and see it.
Well, next time I'm there, I'm gonna have to find somebody I know who's sneaky and help me get up there. Um, so yeah, the building not super special. I mean, it was fine. It was okay. It's not gonna be in either boat. It's not gonna be in the classic, the Fog Allen, the Cameron Indoor or anything like that. And it's not going to be in the new wave. Oh my gosh, like the Louisville, like wow, this is really a major league kind of arena. It's right in there, 70s kind of
Yep,
feel to it.
utilitarian, but it's nice. If you've done the AHL circuit, it is one of the nicer buildings of its size.
Yeah, I haven't done the AHL there yet. But one thing that hit me right away when I went, and I'm hoping that it wasn't just the day that I was there, it felt like this was the event. If you're in Providence, this is our Leafs, this is our Red Sox, this is our whatever, right?
You're
Uh,
absolutely right, Dave. Because Rhode Island, by and large, is a suburb of Boston. Boston is 45 minutes away from Providence. So a lot of our sports fandom in this area are the Boston teams. But for Rhode Island, Providence College basketball is the premier, and you hit it right on the head, the premier sporting event in the state. Even, we talk a lot, this crew, about the Paw Sox and how they moved and how it left a big hole. And that's absolutely true. But they still didn't compare on an event level, like you said, with the Friars.
yeah, the energy level right away was big. Now I went and saw them play Seton Hall. And I believe at the time Seton Hall was ranked. And Providence won that game. So, it was kind of maybe not the best scenario, but pretty darn close. And the energy there was like, wow, this was. I would compare it to it's as good as energy as anywhere I've been for basketball in the Big Ten, with maybe one exception. It was comparable to UConn when I went to see UConn in Hartford. The only spot I can think of off the top of my head that had a better energy was Purdue, and it's really small and really tight. Maybe Syracuse, but Syracuse is a funny one. Like you could get 35,000 people in there, and it's great, but it's way oversized, right? So, but yeah, I was really surprised at how high the energy level was, and it wasn't like they were piping in, intoxicating music or anything like that. Like it was grassroots. It was, this is our team, and we're going to support it, and we are going to be loud.
You're absolutely right. And they have an outstanding student section, which is kind of amazing when you consider it's an off-campus venue. A lot of places that play off-campus, they struggle to get the kids in. But that, the PC student section, they take up one whole end of the arena, and they're loud and they're active, and they've got a giant cheerleading squad and the band, and they've got a DJ. So yeah, and they've got fans, like you said, it's the place to be in Rhode Island. So the season tickets are coveted, and you get the same 10 to 12 to 14,000 fans in there every night. Where I've been there for when they played a team like St. Peter's, and it's still a really good crowd.
Nice.
But if you really want to experience the height of PC and the height of the amp doesn't have a ring to it like the Dunk used to. It hasn't, maybe because it's still new. It hasn't caught on. The AMP, Amica Mutual Pavilion. Go there for the Governor's Cup game when PC and URI play, because then you get the fans from both sides, and the place it's standing room only, and it's double loud, and it's. I don't have a lot of basketball experience to compare it to like you do, but that Governor's Cup game that I covered for Stadium Journey one year, just by the luck of the draw, that's when I happened to go, blew my mind. It was just so much fun.
Now, is that how much of a rivalry is it really?
It is
like,
is
it, are they back and forth, or is it kind of like,
it's one of those things?
A great experience, but Providence is going to win 9 times out of 10.
It's one of those in-state games where no matter where the two teams are and who's up and who's down, it's a game, because PC is usually a step above URI, but URI has had its years too.
Okay,
and they're a solid program. It's not like they're always going to be 10-20 on the season. They're usually an average to above average team. So it's always a competitive game. But the atmosphere, because Rhode Island's a small state, you get, URI is a big, so a lot of the state graduated URI. The funny thing is, most of them are Providence College fans. So it's a big deal.
So how far would it be from campus?
The campus is on the northern side of Providence, so it's not super far. It's maybe depending on Providence traffic, a 10 to 15 minute drive right down Smith Street. So I'd say it's a good 5 or 6 miles away.
And is there like significant?
Oh yeah, they'll bust the kids in.
Yeah. Is there? I was going to say, is there significant public transit there that it makes it's easy to?
For the city itself, it's decent. It's not significant, but I think they'll shuttle the kids from the campus down to the amp for the games.
Now, one other thing that really surprised me, and I don't know why I thought this, the crowd was a lot rougher than I expected.
You told me that.
The stuff that I heard people yelling, and maybe it wasn't necessarily what they were yelling, but maybe who was yelling, and women and kids are cursing people out. I was like, "Whoa, where am I here?" So that was also unexpected. I don't know, maybe just like the sound. I get like the sound of the state, Rhode Island, sounds probably a lot snootier than it probably really is.
Rhode Island is hardly a snooty place. It's very working class state. I mean, any place has its pockets, but Providence College on the it's a good school academically. You've got Brown in the city, which is a lot more hoity-toity, a lot snootier. But PC aspires to snootiness as well. So so maybe that's why you get the energy from, because it's a small school that's competing with the big boys, always has. It's a Catholic school too, so why would they be all nasty? So
well,
so
all right, how would you say? So of course, football killed the Big East, and they did some weird stuff, like they brought in Miami and they brought in some other schools, and then those football schools. Louisville, that was another one. They exited. They went to the ACC, and basically the Big East sort of collapsed upon itself.
It went back to its roots, I think. Yeah.
Became the American, and then the Catholic schools said, "Okay, we don't want to go there. We want to create a basketball conference again."
Yeah,
and there's only really one school in that conference now that actually even has a 1A football team, and that's UConn, and they play independent. So how's the rivalry in the new Big East carried over from the old Big East?
I think for Providence and the other original teams, I think it's because they're there now. You got St. John's, Villanova, Georgetown. Georgetown and Providence have always had this thing. Back when even when Patrick Ewing was playing for Georgetown, and he's a local kid. He's from Boston, but they would ride
That's
him
right.
mercilessly. They're very infamous, very awful sign that they put up one time in a game. How does Patrick Ewing spell success? And it was he can't.
I
So
remember hearing about some of
yeah, so
those.
there was it was nasty back in the day, and I think with Ed Cooley leaving Providence and going to Georgetown this year, that Georgetown game was insane, is what I've heard. So
Wow.
so yeah, the I think because some of those rivalries, at least with the core schools, go back 40 years now. I think they're still very strong.
But they
I
also brought in some schools that just seem to fit, right? Like they brought in Butler and Creighton and Xavier, basketball first schools, and they feel like they fit. Yeah, maybe the rivalry isn't quite there yet, but it sure could be.
like you said, the fit is better than when they had all these big football schools in, and I mean, there was some unfortunate losses, like teams like Boston College and Syracuse. It was sad to see some of them go because they were part of the original crew there too. But like you said, the fit now, it's a basketball conference now. They're not trying to be anything other than what they're supposed to be. So. And if you're visiting Providence from out of town, Providence is a very sneaky good mid-sized city. Like if you like to go to a city and eat, you're not going to find many cities better than Providence. Cities of its size. We've got a couple of really good culinary academies located in the city, so there are fine restaurants all over the place. Right around the corner from the Dunk is our Little Italy, Federal Hill, which used to be where all the mafia kingpins would hang out. So those now are all just straight up restaurants now. So some of
All the guys from that TV show, The Brotherhood.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, some of the best Italian food you will find anywhere. And this is from someone who has sampled Italian food from all over the country. It's right in Providence. And the last thing we got to talk about before we wrap up this show is the Friars mascot. One of the most unique, most frightening mascots in the nation, Friar Dom.
It's one of the things I like about college football or college sports. I mean, college basketball, college sports, is you do have a number of sort of unique identities. You also have like about 36 teams called the Wildcats, but
right.
That being said, and yeah, Providence, it offers, is there anything close to it? The only thing I could think of that would be remotely close to it would be like the San Diego Padres. Yeah. But yeah, the what did you say his name was? Friar Dom?
Friar Dom, because they're from the Dominican order, so
right.
It's Friar Dom.
But it's a great link. It's more than just like, while we chose the Wildcats because they sound ferocious. It has some roots in the school and in the area and whatnot. So it's perfect.
Yeah. And where else are you going to see a giant plastic faced guy in a monk suit on top of a cheerleading pyramid spinning around? Only at the Amica Mutual Pavilion. And one of the sad things this year, since I was a kid back in the 70s, since before the Big East, they used to have this giant inflatable Friar Dom who would just, he's shaped like this. And he was at the far end of the court, and he was a mainstay. He was there for years and years and years. This year, he got taken down.
Uh-oh.
So that's a big loss. But otherwise, it's a fantastic place to check out some of the best basketball in the country, and a place where you wouldn't ordinarily think of it.
I mean, for me, it was a plus minus. Like when we went, unfortunately, it was the third part of a triple hitter day. Triple hitter day is great, but I kind of zipped in and zipped out of Providence very, very quickly. Essentially, saw the game and left.
Those third games, you're just looking forward to end.
Yeah, well, it was a great game. It was exciting. Providence won. The students decided that they were going to storm the court. And unfortunately, that game wasn't quite over yet. So
Oops.
they had to send the ball back with like a second left or something crazy like that. And I guess that's kind of timely now with the
Yeah.
court storming incidents.
Who would have thought storming the
place.
court would turn into a controversy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and this was also like, it was like breast cancer day. So all the students are storming the court in their pink shirts and they stand out, and just watching some of the security guys as they're not going to stop all of them, but they pick and choose, and they're like, I'm going to stop this guy.
This guy's smaller. Bam.
I'm going to stop this guy. Boom. But I had a great time. I would definitely give it a shot again without a thought.
All right, so there's our look at Amica Mutual Pavilion. I did not call it the Dunkin' Donuts Center. In Providence, Rhode Island, home of the Providence Friars. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you on the road real soon. Cheers.
Cheers.